Organissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.organissima.com. Organissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Okay. All right. I'm back again.
Well, it's all right. You know, we're back, right? It's been 2 months. We skipped last month for.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, a lot of things happened since then, right?
oh my gosh. Yes.
Well, I hope.
Good to see you again.
It was a pleasure. I mean, I was looking forward to it, and I got this whole prep for us with the nice little view and all that good stuff. And I was really excited. We were actually announcing, and then technology fails. But anyway, I blame myself, so it's all good.
All right. We're
always
here.
That's it. And we have good stuff that we're going to talk about, and hopefully some people can join us. I mean, they can call in now, 732-332-8493. Number is on the screen, or you can just plug in your comments, just like you did. That was easy. Now we have the tools. You can go to any of those streams right now, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and you can put a comment. I will get it. So that's the good news. Anyways, the show is always replays. So, but we want you to interact with us live. If you have time, this is Friday night. I'm sure you have probably better things to do, but hey, this is probably one of the best sessions you can have at night, and just having a good time with our doctor here, because his time is valuable, and he comes specifically to help us kind of get really a better mental health, right, doctor? I mean, that this is time for mental health. Like we need that.
Well, that's the idea, that we all need good mental health. Otherwise, all of life isn't working well. You still can't hear me.
Oh, no, I hear you. You're good.
Oh, good.
You're good. Yes, it's like, am I talking? Am I not? No, you're talking. I hear. Trust me. You're this. 2 thumbs up.
Okay. Right. We're there.
All right. Doctor, I was looking at that bridge, and you kind of moved to the other side. I'm just kidding.
Well, I kind of did that because it leaves me in the dark, okay? Because we have light outside, so actually you can get the bridge, right? But
no, I need you. We need you. The bridge is lovely, but we want to see you. Well, listen, I hope it's been great for you, and I know. Yeah, you guys are changing seasons right now too, so it's just amazing how this plays. I just had to say that. But doctor, the idea of psychology, I mean, something that happened now, I mean, this technical thing, right? It's something that people come across all the time, many times.
Yeah, it is.
It happens to all of us, right?
Yeah. Okay, so this is the human ability to adapt. Okay, so.
Doctor.
Okay, this is very strange, because when I start speaking, I find that it overrides your microphone, and you look like you're still speaking, and so I don't know when to speak and when not to, Hurricane.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna change me to be on the short screen here, so you don't see much of me. That's what I'm gonna do here. So let's see if I can make that happen. No, that's not the one I want. That's funny. So there you go. So now you're it. You don't have to see me.
Okay, good. So I won't be looking at you, Hurricane. I will just be listening to you, and we will just have a conversation like we're on the phone, and that way we'll get through this. All right.
Yes.
But okay, so the glitch that we just had, the technical problems that we just had, in a sense, COVID in this century is like that technical problem. It's like you've got to stop all your life, stop what all of society is doing, get over that problem so that we can get back on track. And so for a couple of years, we went into finding vaccines, rolling out vaccines, taking care of people who are sick. And hopefully we will get to the stage where we can get back to what we actually want to do. And that's move forward in life.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, but this is beyond COVID. I mean, we experience this on a regular basis, right? It's sometimes you expect things to happen, they don't happen, and the problem, I think, a lot of people sometimes have difficulty adjusting. And to your point, adaptability is key. And so, this is not a question that we have, but since we have this, as an intro, what drives people? Some people can adapt easier than others. Is there any psychology to it?
So basically, Hurricane, we're getting into the area of personality. And there are a number of different systems for looking at people's personality. And personality is how we're different on certain different domains. So if we look at some people, the one that Jung really brought forward was the idea that a lot of us are extroverts. We get our energy from being with people. And other people are introverts. They get their energy from spending time alone or in pursuits by themselves. And we lie on that spectrum somewhere. So if we take another domain like flexibility, there are some people who are very flexible. They can go with the flow very easily, whereas other people are a lot more ordered. They're a lot more considered. And if something changes, it really puts them out and it really flusters them. So again, we're not talking about anything being good or bad or better than worse. It's just different. And aside from people, we have different cultures and different nations having different personalities. So this all comes into a very big mix on how we can adapt to something as small as a technical glitch.
Well, small maybe, but sometimes it can be like very how can I say it, inhibiting, right? I mean, some it throws you off. It's very difficult, and I've seen people. As a matter of fact, I've seen that as tests. Sometimes they're done on purpose. It happened to me in college where we were tested at an opportunity of we were supposed to do this travel trip and organize it, and then as part of our curriculum, and then. They did something to us in the breakfast, which was something we were to serve our guests. And we had to actually adjust to whatever that situation is and adapt and make it work regardless.
Yes.
And we were scored for that. And we didn't expect that to happen as a training piece, but it was. And to be honest with you, that was a great experience for me. When things happen, you just have to, some people dwell and go crazy. Oh my God, the world ends. Or you can say, what we're going to do now? Let's not worry about that. Let's worry what we can do to make it happen. And I just wanted to actually, talk about it because some people are looking like maybe, well, wow, what are you going to do when something happens? You don't go crazy. You just have to actually fix the problem and hopefully, move on with it and make the best out of it. So here, we made a question out of it.
Yeah, we did. And it's actually good to be flexible. But let's talk about the limits of that as well, because being flexible means that you can cope with what's happening and get back on track. But people who are, let's say, too flexible, that are swayed by different opinions that go with the flow too much. So in other words, have an external locus of control, and I'm mixing two domains here. Sometimes I have trouble getting it back on track at all. It's sort of like, okay, so we had this glitch, that's fine. What's the next thing that's happening? What's the next thing that people are saying? What's the next thing that's trending on social media? And you'll find that they don't get quite back on track. So this is why ideally we want to be flexible, even in our flexibility. Sometimes you don't want to be flexible. Sometimes you want to say, no, we've got to get this job done. We are going to go in on this track. And other times it's good to be flexible. It's good to go with the flow so that you can have spontaneous experiences.
I love that. We need to be flexible in our own flexibility. It's gotta be a statement, man. We have to actually call that and trademark that one. That's a good one. It's powerful because you don't think about it, but you're right. There's flexibility, and you got to be within that flexibility, able to do certain things. So, and that's an ability that you need to develop, and not everybody has that. But thank you, because I think from this platform, anyone watching this today or later, or even listening on the podcast, take it. It's a formula that you can use and adapt to it,
Yeah.
and hopefully, you'll get a solution out of this in life. Whatever throws, life was going to throw a lot of things, a lot of hurdles, a lot of curves, and
Yes. Yes,
swings.
that's right.
So we just have to kind of and you gave a best example, a serious example, which was the whole Corona thing, and
Yes.
that's something that no one planned for. I mean, we have a war going on, which is another story, and we talked about that in the last show. So I'm not going to talk about it as much today because I think we covered a lot. But a lot of things happen, Doctor, and you mentioned something about events. Something on social media. I'm not sure if you follow the news in the States. We had that whole shooting, of course. You probably do.
Yes.
So I had that sad and tragedy that happened, this week. And I do have a question that came through. It's a multi-level question, but I think it's a powerful, question, and it is almost, we need to address that a little bit, and at least to help maybe people adjust with this, because everybody is touched with this. And when I saw the question, I felt it's definitely a priority. So I have other questions that were before, but this is, and since we talked about that, I wanted to just to share it. So the question is three points, 3 bullets. First it says, in light of the recent school shooting tragedy in Texas, I have a tiered question. What is the psychological driver behind such a barbarian act? What could possibly push someone to lose their humanity? Now that's the first part of the question, and then I can break it down. I can go to the second one.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, when a tragedy like that happens, you have to think that for every person who died in that, it touches the lives of hundreds of people. This is just something that none of us want to happen. Children are really important to us. They are our future. So when they're taken out senselessly like this, we feel, and then we feel for the parents, we feel for the siblings, we feel for the friends, we feel for the whole community. This is a tragedy beyond belief. So the question comes, why does something like this happen? And often in the media, and that this happens, Hurricane, we look for simple answers to really complex questions. And so the question of gun control will come up, as it always does, and it should, because if we didn't have that means, then perhaps something like this wouldn't have happened. But deeper than that, why would somebody want to do something like this? And unfortunately, we do have almost a whole culture of meaninglessness where we do not value each other as we should. And because we have in our society cut off from the divine essence of what humans believed that they were. So in India, for example, Hindus will greet each other by saying Namaste, which basically says, I reverence the divinity in you. Now, if you feel that you have a divinity talking to you, you're not going to shoot them. But if you start to feel that life is meaningless, and my life is meaningless, which means that other people's life is meaningless, then the value of life drops. And the psychology, as far as I understand it, is that these are the things that are happening in a lot of young people. Because, Hurricane, you and I grew up at a time of promise, of time when we thought that we could move forward. And there's a sense in which we're losing things like that. And look, I don't want to say that there weren't shootings last decade and the decades before, but it's this growing sense of meaninglessness that I believe is behind a lot of the shootings, like we unfortunately have witnessed.
Thank you, Doctor. Well, to your point, the shootings that happened in the past, I mean, you had crime and
Yes.
and more criminal activities, and there's always victims. But this is a different type of crime. This is like a lunatic crime. I mean, this is not where someone wants to steal something or like a thug or something. This is a kid who actually just decides to go and for whatever reason start shooting and targets that are like innocent. They can't even defend themselves. I mean, kids, and not By the way, this has been happening in the States recently. It's more frequent now. I mean, in schools and malls. The last one, I think it was in New York subway. I mean, this has been like almost a frequent now flyer. And you're right. The debate about the weapons or arms or firearms It's always going to be on on the judgment, pull here. And but if we can talk about that for a minute, Doctor.
Yeah.
There's two schools of thought, right? I mean, the firearms is one thing, and then the people behind the firearms, right? Gun control is one thing, right? You can control the guns, and frankly, people who actually technically have a permit and go through the scrutiny and stuff, typically they're not the ones doing these acts. You have people that may just acquire these firearms somehow. And I'm not defending the firearms world here. I'm just saying, that's one of the ideas. And then you have the person. I mean, people can kill with a lot of things, right? Not just the firearms. Obviously, the firearms is an easier, tool to do this stuff, this nonsense. But the fact of the matter, I've seen it in other places. They use swords and machetes and whatever. So people, when they do this, they do it regardless of what the tool they use. It's really their mental state that's the problem. And that's why when, for example, if you're to apply, at least in the States, in some, like in New York, they're very rigid. In New Jersey, they're very rigid. But then some states are more liberal when it comes to firearms. But the people are responsible. I mean, anyone that owns a firearm knows responsibility. The problem here is this is a young fella who actually took, the weapons or the firearms and used them, obviously for the worst. And what's so sad about it is that he posted this stuff, and most of these guys post this stuff the day before. People are commenting on this stuff on social media thinking it's not real. And that's the part that I cannot understand. So if we think that this guy is losing it for whatever reason, and he might have had reasons that there's no justification to whatever the reasons are, but then the people that sold this before. I mean, we have this whole thing in the States now. If you see something, say something. I mean, it applies to everything. But here you got over 800 people that are commenting on a post, and no one took action. No one reported it, or if they did, no one took it serious enough to actually take action. Which is the part that I don't get. Now, it's not me. I'm not the judge on this, but the public is questioning this. I mean, I've read stuff, and many people, many parents are concerned. And that's actually taking us to the second part of the question. Let me just open up my question here. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to the parents of the victims and to other parents who are fearful at this point and lost trust in the school safety? I mean, so there's components to this. I mean, obviously the parents that are really right now living this nightmare, there's no description to how their emotions are going to be. And then you have the parents that have not or close enough. But then even other people, like you said, this is community, this is everybody. The teachers themselves actually, at fear here, because every day this happens, it impacts the teachers, the staff, and everyone else. And even the laws right now can be affected with something like this. So what would you say to that question?
Okay. So it's a wonderful question, Hurricane. The thing is that at this stage, and to people who have experienced a tragedy of this scale, it's not the time for giving advice. I have, at this stage, no advice to give. Now, what I mean by that is there comes a time to give advice, but it's not now. The advice giving has to come after listening. And so this is the time for listening. This is a time for listening to the parents. This is a time for listening to the teachers. This is a time for listening to the fellow students, because unfortunately, we need to understand what happened, and we go through this as cycles. At the moment, it's news, and so we have it on our mind. And then, unfortunately, what happens in a couple of weeks, something else will become news, and we will lay this in the background. And one thing that I'm really wary of, Hurricane, is saying that this is a lunacy crime because somebody was either mad or bad. And we're not going to be able to change things like this unless we as a society own the problem. Because you and I, Hurricane, and everybody in this world have created a society where these things happen. And so if we sort of say, okay, we are collectively responsible, how did we let something like this happen? Then we would start looking deeper for the deeper reasons as to how somebody gets there. Because, all right, so we just talked about how it's not just the gun situation. It's not just the meaninglessness. It's not just the the video games where you can go shooting people. So it's all of these, plus it's more. But the only way we're going to find out what the more is first by listening. And then we'll try to understand how people can see some signs but not do anything, because we created that society as well. And only after the listening can we start to figure out what's going on and then take action in the right direction.
Thank you, Doctor. So I love that. Sorry. I love what you said about time to listen right now. I mean, advice can be literally misconceived or constructed or construed, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, people can be very defensive to that. I mean, you know, I'm here, I'm just, you know, in a state of mind that I don't need your advice right now. But there's a lot of talk. To your point, it's news, and everywhere you turn right now in the U.S., I mean, this is a hot topic, right?
Yeah.
And it's just becoming a very volatile one, and there's a lot of, you know, opinions about it. I think the majority of people are, you know, really with the parents, the teachers, and trying to figure out a solution. But you did say something important, is that we created this society.
Yeah.
And I think even this guy, whoever it is that did this, and anyone that does that, I mean, I think you and I, we had something in the previous show where we talked about they're also victims to society, I guess. Whatever is created, and I'm not actually, you know, making them here justification, but I'm saying, you know, psychologically speaking, you know, there's a factor that affected them, and to your point, this is something that's created by the environment somehow.
Yep.
And that's where they feel that they can do this. It's just, to them, it's just a game, maybe, whatever. I mean, unless you meet with this person and you really do a full analysis on them or a diagnosis on their mental state, you're not going to know what was going on in their mind. And that's the tough part. But it does not justify the act and whatever happened. So
no, it doesn't. It definitely doesn't. It definitely doesn't.
Yeah. So for the parents, obviously they're grieving right now. So basically we just, you know, they have to just absorb and kind of settle in and, you know, just get into the motions and get back in life. And then the folks that were there immediately, obviously they're impacted. But then there's more people. I mean, people now have trust issues. As a matter of fact, there are drills right now all over the schools in the States, and there's measures. The first, when it happened, my school, you know, where my kids go, they send us a notification that they've doubled up their security level and everything. Now, one thing that, you know, that's funny, because when you go to any school here, I mean, you know, you don't go past security, you got to get your ID and stuff. And somehow this particular person was able to do it. Not that it makes a difference. If someone wanted to start shooting, they could have started shooting outside, which people do at malls. And again, like I said, recently it's been just a spree of these things, but it's happening at a rate that is rapid. But so, Doctor, so the advice the question I'm going to ask is, if there's an advice to the society, like what can we do, you know, in a way to help, you know, as a community, as a nation, as a world?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So just to drive the point home, Hurricane, this person who carried out this crime, about 13 years ago, he was 5 years old. He was a 5-year-old child that had parents and a community and hopes and dreams and had a life ahead of them, just like any other 5-year-old. So as a society, what we have to ask ourselves is, how did this person get from being a 5-year-old to be an adolescent and to end their life first by killing 21 people? So rather than looking just at one factor that happened in the last couple of weeks, we have to ask ourselves, how are we bringing up our 5-year-olds that some of them can end up in this space? And that is actually a very complex question, but it brings together all of us. It says, okay, so we've got to look at the environment that a 5-year-old grows up in. Are they getting the right education? Are they getting the right trust? Are they getting the right hope? Are they getting the right opportunities? It's not just, okay, now we need better security at all our schools, because school children are not supposed to go to school with security. School children are supposed to go to school, have fun, and play ball, and learn a few things as well. So the whole idea that we need security so that our children can learn at school is bizarre. And we have to ask ourselves, how did we actually get to that stage? Why do we need security in our schools. Now, because our media likes to talk about things and give really bland overviews to really complex questions, we're not going to get to that underlying sense of what society is doing to allow things like this to happen unless we take a broader approach, a deeper approach. Now, these things happen periodically every year or two. And rather than just having a knee-jerk reaction to the tragedy of it, we have to put together some sort of a committee of experts to say, right, we've got to listen to people first, we've got to gather the information, we have to have a broad overview, and then we have to see what the pattern is, because once we understand that pattern, then we can intervene and say there is something that can be done, because the human spirit is resilient. We have other 5-year-olds that grow up wanting to help people in other countries and find solutions to problems in the world. So we have to see what the difference is and see what we can do to foster a society that can move more towards one than the other.
Thank you, Doctor. And so in the same aspect, so people sometimes are easy to blame, right?
Yes.
The first blame is going to be to whoever the parents of this particular child who committed this crime. Well, he's not that young, but I mean, a young fella, and or the environment he was raised in, whatever. And that goes to any type of crime or criminal activity, and whoever portrayed the perpetrator of these activities.
Yes.
So is that even fair to actually blame these folks? I mean, and again, because it's one thing that the person, and again, fair is just a word, right? But it's
no, it's a very important word, hurricane. Very important word.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, it's deeper than what people would define it for. But the fact is, you have the person that does, and you have the family members that may not even have a clue sometimes. So, and I'm not, again, note, I want to clear this. We're not defending one or the other. We're just putting the question so we can see what the psychology behind it. So, right. Doctor, what would you say to that?
Okay, so let's go to the deep psychology behind what you're actually saying, because we humans have a tendency to blame other people. And if we blame other people, and it makes us feel good about ourselves. Oh, I'm not like that. Okay, so the whole idea of stigma comes around this. So, for example, I treat people with mental illnesses. People who have mental illnesses have experienced a lot of stigma in their lives. So that's society saying, we're not like you, and we want you pushed away. And in fact, decades ago, we used to lock these people up. Now we see that these people are not to be locked up, because in this century, we now know that we are all susceptible to mental illness. Studies show that up to half of us are going to get the diagnosis of a mental illness in our lifetimes. So that means that mental illness, we are finally seeing, is not an us versus them thing. Same with various disabilities. People who suffer disabilities are like us, they just happen to have a disability. And the good thing about the direction that society is going in is that we see that it's more us. It's not us versus them. Everybody has something to contribute. Now, the thing is that we need to be able to extend that into the area of tragedies like this. So, in other words, saying, oh, look at those bad people, or what those people have done, or what went wrong there, we need to ask the question, hey, these people are part of us. What is going wrong in us? What is it that we are doing that fosters things like this? And obviously, we want less mental illness. We want less disabilities. We want less crime. We want people to be accepted. And when people feel accepted, then, relating back to my first point, there will be less meaninglessness in life, so that people feel accepted. And the psychology of having to take people out before you yourself die may be lessened just enough for these things not to happen. And on top of it, Hurricane, I can't say I'm right in that, because I don't know. This is a complex issue that takes a whole panel of experts and a lot of research and a way forward. And unfortunately, we elect governments here in Australia for only 3 or 4 years, which means that nobody's actually taking responsibility for long enough to say we've got to find a way forward for all of us.
Thank you, Doctor, and I appreciate that. I mean, you're right. This is beyond our discussion. There's a whole world of folks that need to be, probably, and it's scary, the study that you said, that we all are really potentially subject to a potential, time of our lives where we can have some sort of a mental, issue, which is very, scary in a way when you think about it, considering that any one of us can probably just lose it, lose the cool, as we say. And that's something that we have to almost be aware of. So that means we have to take the measures. And to your point, is smiling and laughing and having good activities and things like that. In previous shows, we've talked about those things can make us better people, meaning, having a social life that is better and nourishing and all that. So, by the way, Doctor, is that correct? Am I on the right path there?
No, you're definitely on the right path there, because it's only when it comes to extreme things like this that we feel, oh, I couldn't do something like that. And then I'll ask somebody, well, have you ever felt like punching a wall? And people go, well, yeah, of course, I felt like punching a wall, but there's nothing wrong with punching a wall. Well, it's a continuum from punching a wall to punching a person to shooting a person to shooting 21 people. And the emotion behind it is the same. But we obviously need a society that keeps us on the spectrum of punching walls or less, right? Rather than punching people or more. And so it's got to do with ownership of the problem. The world is not divided into good and bad people. The world is divided into people and people. We are in this together. Together we are stronger. Together we can survive. Together we have to get through all of this. And so to do that, we have to keep trust and relationships rather than distrust and security in a society that's working to alienate each other from each other. That sounds convoluted, I know, Hurricane, but I hope through that you can get some sort of an idea of what I'm reaching for.
No, I got it, and I'm sure folks will dive through it and understand it. But you're right. In unity, there is strength, and that's a powerful, concept. And again, all of us can solve this, if we all kind of treat ourselves first, individually. I mean, the society begins with each one of us, right?
Yes,
and then
all of us together.
Exactly, but once we all actually are responsible, to your point, accountable, and we take action the right way, we should all be able to have that effect where we are pretty much working as a world united.
Yes. Okay, so I've just thought of an analogy to make it easier to understand some of what we have to do and what we shouldn't have to do. So let's say some of us strangely get very angry and annoyed because of all the paperwork that we have to do in our society. Everything takes paperwork. So imagine a committee looking at the anger at paperwork, and their decision of what to do about this is adding another layer of paperwork just to screen for the people who don't like paperwork. So what that does is then make everybody in the whole community more angry about paperwork, which is going to push more people over the edge in their anger about paperwork. So if we look at trust, what we actually need to do is to find ways to build trust amongst humans again. Because if we look to build security at schools, what we're actually doing is building distrust, which will push more people into this sense of distrust and meaninglessness, and quite frankly, more likely to get a gun and do something like this again. And then what will we do? We will get more security. And it's not security that we need, it's trust. But how to do that is very, very complex, Hurricane, because you can't just go around with a placard saying, trust your fellow man or fellow person. It's not that easy. But we have to look at societal structures that we do have to increase trust rather than alienating to each other and decrease trust.
Thank you for the analogy. I think that's clearer now.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you're breaking it down in a way that is simple, but it's a complex, concept. But yes, I think the way you're sharing it with us and with the audiences, I think it's a lot more simpler, and for us to actually, not all of us are experts in this, and obviously we need that small baby steps, concept to understand what we need to do. So thank you for making it easy for us. So,
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
No, that's all right. So, Hurricane, what I'm seeing in my practice and in my own life is a lot of human relationships where there's less trust and basically less togetherness. So I've just put out a little video to sort of say, look, let's get on with each other. Let's build bridges. Let's keep the ropes between people happening. And so what this is a challenge to all of us to look at our own personal relationships, our place with our families, to say, okay, what can I do to build trust? What can I do to get on well with the people around me? And what that does is it becomes a safeguard to sort of say, I can change the world a little bit by making the world around me just a little bit better. So that's what that video is all about. It's how to save your life. It's all about swimming, because in the harsh waters of a harsh society that we're in at the moment, it's better if we're swimming together and we have each other as safety nets, because you know what, Hurricane, we are going through some uncharted waters at the moment, and it's difficult.
Yes. And it's just, the world is just amazing these days. There's never a dull moment these days. From one thing to the other, it's like it doesn't stop. But I just wanted to give credit to actually the question. I never got to the last part of it. So Jennifer from Texas is actually who sent the question.
Okay.
And there was a third party part to the question, but I think we answered it, which basically was, how can teachers deal with this trauma and fear? And that was actually part of, I think, your response earlier when we talked about how it's not time for advice. It's time for just, let them, and deal with it, right? In terms of
it's listening first, because dealing with something like this is really tough, Hurricane. Yes. It's going to take months and months. And the best thing that people can do, however, is look at the time when they can get back into a classroom, look at children and say, I love what I do because I'm here to educate these growing people as part of our humanity. Because from a teacher's point of view, that's where we belong. That's where a teacher belongs, educators.
Well, we love our educators, and we love
you bet.
And there was a time where we do have a saying in the Arabic culture. There's a saying that says teachers were about to be prophet, like almost at the level of a prophet. That's how they're being seen in their level. So and unfortunately, it got diluted over the years, but yes, we do want to put them on a pedestal and thank them for what they do. And it is a tough job, and again, society is making it more difficult. So from staying with the human factor, but leaving the tragedy and the sad world. This is a question from Jonathan, Florida. What are the inhibited factors that prevent people to thrive in their personal lives and in business? Are there such psychological reasons?
So what are the inhibitory factors to thriving?
Yes. Whether in business.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is a wonderful question, Jennifer, from Florida.
Jonathan.
Jonathan. Okay. Yeah. So the question in thriving is, how can we reach our full potential? That's what thriving is. When you feel that you can do something, I want to get out there and do it. That's what thriving is. So that's what we want to foster in society. And in this, we've got a theory that goes back to 1943. It's from Abraham Maslow, that basically says we all need certain needs put in place as we reach for thriving. Now, thriving is the highest level of human achievement and expression. However, to get there, we've got to have a few things put in place. So his first level is talking about having enough food and shelter to be able to just exist as human beings. Then the second level is having safety, a safe enough society so that we can trust each other, so that we can move forward and do the things that we want to do. What I spend most of my time on is on Maslow's third level. His third level is love and belonging needs. Now, in love and belonging needs, this is where we stay together with the people we've committed to, where we honor parents and stay together with family, and to have friends, and we have the human element of us flourishing. Now, the next levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is basically self-esteem needs and then self-actualization or thriving. But to get there, we have to have the security of the other three levels. And what we're doing in our society at the moment is we're forsaking our love and belonging needs to get to the thriving. It's like we all dream of leaving our small country town to get out there and make a lot of money and be successful, and to come back to the small country town and for people to say, well done, Christian, well done. But you see, when everybody in that town does it, there is nobody to come back to. So it feels very, very empty. And what we're doing is we're not taking care of the people around us so that we can thrive. So Jonathan, to shorten things for you, the answer to thrive is to make sure that you are secure in your relationships. And I know that I come back to this all the time, Hurricane, because unfortunately it is so true. Do not turn your back on family, friends, or your partner to get out there and thrive, because you won't thrive. So the block in thriving is to make sure that we have got our love and belonging needs met.
Well, thank you, Doctor. And I love the way it's, again, it goes back to the basics, right?
Yeah.
And you're right. A lot of people have that vision. Listen, I'm one of them. I mean, I left a country and with a dream and so on and so forth. And I hope I didn't do it for the wrong reasons, and I don't think I go out there and say, I do. I use it. I use whatever I achieved as an opportunity to share with people and maybe give them the opportunity to actually have that. And again, but everybody's different. And again, I'm not, giving kudos to myself, just to be clear. I'm just saying that's how I do it. And that's my how I think about the process, because somebody else did help me. And a lot of people actually did help me in my journey. And I always thank them for that. So Doctor, I have a question that's, still with the human factor. And I know because we're coming, in short in time, because we start a little later. So this question says, what are people so obsessed with power and fame? So, Lisa.
Okay. Lisa, that's a great question. Why are people so obsessed with power and fame? And the way that I look at this as a psychiatrist is that in order to survive, our brain centers the whole universe around itself. We all experience life from our own perspective. And so from this psychologically grows what we call an ego. And an ego is a sense of self, and it feels good about itself. And this ego has this need to possess everything and to dominate all other people. And the thing about our ego is it will just want more and more and more. Now, the trick is, in society, we then rub shoulders with millions of other egos just like us. And this is where we start to form a community where we go, okay, I can draw back on some of what I want to have as far as dominance and power is concerned, to let you have some, if I can be part of society as well, right? Now, we're getting a bit philosophical rather than neurological here, Hurricane, and we're going to, for those who are interested, contract theory, social contract theory. And it actually works, that we all sort of say, look, if you let me be part of it, I will relinquish some of my desire for fame and dominance. So back to Lisa's questions, why are so many people obsessed with fame? It's because we now have social media where fame is such a big thing. To have 1 like or 10 likes is very different to having 1 million views or 10 million views. And because we now have the opportunity to see right in front of us people who are getting all these likes, it actually entices our ego to say, I want that. And the idea that I want this far beyond what is actually possible. So the question becomes, how many people can actually get famous in this world? Well, if you decide that famous is having a Wikipedia page, then that means about 1 out of every 80,000 people get to have a Wikipedia page. Now, having a Wikipedia page does not make you famous. To become famous, the odds are so much smaller that it becomes ridiculously minuscule. So the way to overcome this for your ego is to tell your ego, what do you actually want to do in life? Where do you actually feel you're expressing yourself? Where do you feel that you are being yourself? And if you find what that is, it doesn't matter if you're a teacher with 50 students or a media influencer with 50,000 followers, the experience for the ego is the same. It's the self-satisfaction. It's the feeling that I am part of it, that I am giving to other people, and I am part of a bigger system. And wherever you're called upon to be in that system, it can feel fine.
So, Doctor, just as you're speaking, something that clicked in my mind here. So
Yeah.
someone can relate that to let's say success in their world. That may be the way they see their success. So how do we differentiate between that? I mean, it is, I guess, success has different ways to be measured, and for some people, that's where when we're talking about thriving a life or business or get successful, to some people, being famous or in power, it's part of success. So, I mean, does that even work? I mean, because that is a tough one, right? You know,
it is a tough one, Hurricane. So I have met people who have made millions of dollars, but they have lost their wife and family in the process, and they are shattered human beings. In fact, one person I knew got married again, and he was eternally grateful that somebody gave him a second chance to really succeed at life. And succeeding at life, he found out too late, was actually having good relationships with the people around you. So we're talking about teachers today as well. Success for a teacher may be that I get to teach. And so it's not a matter of seeing what's out there and what can I do to get famous, to see what's inside you. What is it that's inside me that I particularly want to express? And you marry that up with the need of other people. So, Hurricane, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing unless two things happened. One, you actually love it and you want to do this. But secondly, there's a need in the community that you are fulfilling. So in other words, if you went for 6 months and absolutely nobody tuned into the station, you'd sort of say, you know what, maybe this is not the right thing to do. So we are all looking for that. And as long as you find the expression of what you want to do married up with people needing it and wanting it, then you've hit a sweet spot in society.
Well, thank you for clarifying that. And Doctor, you're right, because again, here there's this peer pressure that, to your point's created these days, where we are measured by the number of followers, the number of likes, the number of how many views you have, or shares, and maybe this actually I had this discussion the other day with a friend, and even at the before you got on the show, I had said, I go into some lives and there are a lot of people just chatting, and you have a lot of viewers. Please join us. We're going to have a good discussion, somebody that actually can give us some benefit. But you know what? That's a choice people have. It's unfortunate, but you have that. You probably will, people gravitate to just, idle talk sometimes. And they, and you mentioned something powerful about, let's say you do this because you want to do it, because you love it. To be honest with you, I know one thing for sure. I'm not going to stop doing this, whether I have one person.
Right.
And that's how it. But you're right. Some people will, if they're doing it for the reason they just want to get that level of views and this and that, that's a different route. For example, and this is true, honest, reality is that my thing is, whether it's today, tomorrow, the next day, a year from now, 2 years from now, this video is going to be out there and someone's going to benefit. Many people will eventually get to it and benefit from it. And that's really
That's right.
So it's just a perspective of how you play with it. I mean, even fame, even power and success. Some people, I do these leadership, talks, and sometimes people get the power trips, and they want the title because they want to own the place and do this and just order people to do things, and it's not necessarily the best way. And the example you gave is a super example, because you can have all the money in the world. I mean, yesterday or the day before we had a show, we talked about money. does not bring happiness, but brings the tools that can get you happiness. But that's about it. But if you make it as the sole purpose to be happy, it's not going to be happy, because to your point, you might work for the money and lose everybody else. And then your life becomes, sometimes it's way too late and there's no coming back. In this case, luckily the person did have a second comeback, and sometimes
Yes, that's right.
that's a beautiful thing. But to some people, it's too late. They work, and they go after the fame and this. And I've had actually a discussion with someone who actually had that role in Hollywood, personality, and in their, in the show, that person did share that life is very difficult.
Yes.
People don't even realize how hard it is to be in under the spotlight and all the stuff that's going on. Everybody's watching you, and you can't even make a move. I mean, sometimes you think about it, these people cannot even breathe. They walk in the street, they can't even have a normal life. You can't have breakfast with your friend and family without somebody taking a picture of you or coming with you. So it is a rough world out there. So be careful what you wish for. I think that's what I would say. It's a long journey, but if you do it, for the right reason, or whatever the right reason may be for you, but know that there are repercussions to whatever those reasons that you are going for or shooting for.
Yeah. Okay. So if we talk about celebrities, we can talk about their front stage space and their backstage space. So whenever they're out in public, they're always on show. There has to be a time in each of our lives when we can close the door and they are with people that know them as people. And that's what we call a backstage space. It's like a dressing room. The public do not get to see that, so that they can be an authentic human being. Because we have this balance between wanting to get on with people around us, but also wanting to be authentically ourselves. And so if each of us have 3 or 4 people with whom we can be authentically ourselves, then again, you hit one of these sweet spots in society where you are truly being yourself and you truly feel accepted for who you are. And that's when we talk about love partners and close family, people who really accept you for who you are. Warts and all the problems, okay? Whereas out in society, we're interested in appearances. We're not interested in authentic humanity. And that's one of those problems that we have to be aware of.
Thank you, Doctor. It's always an honor to listen to you, and it's always a learning experience. So I do listen to these shows over and over, just so you know. I actually watch them just because sometimes on the show it's one thing because I'm talking, but then I sit back and start absorbing this content and hopefully try to apply it in my life. And a lot of people are watching them on YouTube and things in the long term, and so far it's been great. I have people actually that say they love the show. I mean, I'm looking for them right now. I can't see anyone on the show, but I think because we were not here last month,
that's true.
But here's the good news is that we will continue doing this, folks. This is not stopping, and thank you, Doctor, for always taking the time. I know it's Saturday for you, and you're taking this hour with us, and you have better things to do. But this is a good thing that you're doing out there, helping people, guiding them.
Yeah, but just as you are doing what you love, Hurricane, I too am doing something that I love and need to find that other people want this. And this is how all of humanity works together as a whole to achieve things beyond all of us. We all play our part.
Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity, Hurricane.
Listen, when we first connected and we did the first show, that was great. We had a lot of discussion about the psychiatry and psychology world. And then we agreed to do this. And, it's been real. Every session we've had, was powerful, and we've covered a lot of good questions that if people go to it, I mean, that's a resource. Just literally, that's a resource of guidance that people can actually go to and hopefully help themselves, when they're facing some sort of a situation. I think we covered a lot of situations that affect a lot of, humanity in general and individuals and family matters and things. So I want to thank you for that. And I know we're coming to the end of the show here. But folks, again, if you're watching now, or if you're not watching, you're going to be listening later, watching later. Please take the time, listen to the show, and you can check out also Dr. Heim's website and the work he does. And the next one will be at the end of June, I believe. last Friday of the month, as always. So last Friday of June. And again, you can call us at the number that's on the screen, 732-322-8493, or you can just email me at hurricaneh@ihealthradiousa.com. And if you're on the show live with us, you can put in your comments to any of those feeds that are, if you're watching on YouTube, whatever. Right now, this platform is giving us the ability to be broadcasting live in all these multiple social media. So again, I know we're trying and striving for more people to come in and interact with us. We've had a few calls before. Yeah, please, again, I'm just saying, folks, if you're watching and listening now or later, make it your point to join us in a discussion, and maybe we can get somebody to jump on the live with us. Not a problem with that too. I don't know, Doctor, would you mind that if someone comes on?
Not at all. Not at all.
There you go. So if you build up the courage to come up, because I know we've talked about this. People are sometimes shy. They don't want to be, talking about psychiatry or psychology. But really, this is what we do, and we're talking about real elements of life, and it just starts with us. We're listening to it. We're talking about it. It's actually resonating here, but also it can help you and benefit you. Doctor, any last words for today's show? And, we can adjourn.
Well, I suppose the one thing is to look at that sweet spot between self-expression and finding a need in society so that we can all feel part of it together. And in a way, that's how it seems to be put together for some strange reason.
Well, thank you for that, Doctor. And as always, it's been a pleasure. And I apologize, we had that little delay earlier.
Sure.
Again, we took a lesson from that, and we had our first discussion about adaptability and flexibility within the flexibility. So that was good. And again, we stay tuned for the next show, and hopefully we'll have additional questions. We have actually additional questions. We didn't even get to half of the questions we had for the day, but hopefully next time we'll get some live interactions. And I know Doctor loves to have someone call in, so please feel the and I'm not forcing anybody to do it, but yes, it would be a good way to just have the direct call with the doc, and Dr. Heim will be more than happy to answer your questions live, and that's a great thing. Just think about this: if you actually to book a session, that's the different story. So this is actually live and available, and there's no cost. So hey, why not? I had to say that. I mean, I know psychiatry and and psychology work is not cheap, and the sessions can be costly depending where you are and what you're looking for. But at the end of the day, we have real feed with an expert, one of the best actually in the world. So take advantage, folks. And Dr. Heim doesn't mind, because he believes in the mission that he's working with here and helping one person at a time, hopefully, in this world. And same thing, that's our platform, same mission. That being said, I'm hurricaneh with Dr. Heim with us here. We'll be looking forward to the next show. We'll talk soon. Bye for now.